Welcome to History Nights. Tonight, we're not wandering through the crowded bridges or the postcard-perfect canals. We're going deeper far, beneath the souvenir shops and the gondolas to uncover the Venice that tourists never see. A city built on water shouldn't have survived. A city with no farmland, no stone quarries, and no natural resources should never have become a global superpower. And yet, for 1,000 years, Venice stood at the center of world trade, engineering, diplomacy, and war. How did they do it? How did a fragile lagoon turn into one of the most advanced engineering projects in human history? What secrets lie beneath its wooden foundations, its underwater defenses, and its forgotten maritime innovations? Tonight, we explore ancient Venice, beyond the tourist trap. The hidden infrastructure, the genius of its shipbuilders, the silent power of its canals, and the incredible legacy that allowed a city built on mud and salt water to command an empire. Before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously, and I'd love to know where you're watching from. Now settle in, as we journey into the unseen Venice, the Venice of engineers, merchants, spies, and silent miracles of ancient technology.
Before we set sail into Venice's forgotten world, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps keep these deep dive history episodes alive. And tell me in the comments, have you ever visited Venice? Or is this your first time discovering the hidden side of the city that tourists never see? I'd love to hear where you're watching from and what drew you to tonight's story.
Imagine a city that floats, a crown of marble and tile perched delicately atop shimmering waves. Venice La Serenissima, the most serene republic, rises like a dream from the sea. But before the gondolas, palazzos, and carnival masks, before the web of canals and stone bridges, there was only water, mud, and a vast, unwelcoming lagoon. Let's rewind to a time long before Venice's glory, to an age when the Adriatic coastline was shaped by wild, shifting tides. Where Venice now stands, there were only low-lying mudflats and tidal pools, a place no one would ever think to build a city. Why? Because building in the sea was folly. Floods washed across the marshland, water eroded every new structure, and the very ground itself dissolved beneath your feet. The idea of settling here seemed impossible, dangerous, and, frankly, absurd. But history is often written by those desperate enough to try the impossible.
In the 5th and 6th centuries, much of Italy faced a terrifying reality. Waves of invaders swept across the land. The Ostrogoths, the Lombards, warlords from the north, each seeking new territories, each pushing refugees from crumbling Roman cities and villages. These refugees were ordinary adults, farmers, artisans, traders, people with no army left to defend them and nowhere to run. Fleeing these threats, they sought refuge not on solid ground, but in the most unlikely of places, the shallow, muddy lagoons of the Adriatic. Here, the tides were unpredictable, the ground unsteady, but the invaders' heavy horses and armored troops could not follow. It was a fragile safety, but it was safety all the same.
These early Venetians gathered on islands like Torcello, Murano, and Rialto, places nothing more than raised patches of silt, but survival required more than hiding. If they were to endure, they had to build. The challenge was enormous. How could you raise homes, markets, even churches, in a place that seemed determined to swallow them whole? Necessity, though, breeds invention. The settlers learned that if you drove long wooden piles deep into the mud, packed closely together, they could support platforms above the waterline. Over time, centuries of ingenuity turned these platforms into solid foundations, and the city slowly began to rise, balancing atop a forest of submerged wood, each stake a testament to hope in the face of adversity. Thus, the impossible became reality. Venice emerged, born not just from water and timber, but from the courage and desperation of those who dared to build a life where no city should stand. When we look at the world's great historic cities, Venice, Amsterdam, St. Petersburg, we marvel not just at their beautiful facades, but at the hidden ingenuity beneath our feet. Much of this ingenuity lies in the evolution of pile foundations, vast arrays of wooden posts, driven deep into the earth or mud, providing stable footing where none naturally existed. This story begins centuries ago, as humans settled in landscapes shaped by rivers, lakes, and tides. Early builders faced a recurring dilemma: how to construct large, stable structures on soft, often waterlogged ground. The answer, rediscovered and refined across centuries and continents, was the wooden pile. In the ancient world, early settlers learned to drive long, straight tree trunks deep into marshy earth.
Greek engineers, for example, used piles to support bridges. The remains of such structures have even been identified in the remnants of Roman roads and river crossings. But it was in the Middle Ages, and especially in Renaissance Italy and the Low Countries, that pile foundation techniques truly blossomed. Venice provides perhaps the most iconic example. Built atop a shifting lagoon, its grand palaces and churches stand on millions of wooden piles, some laid more than 1,000 years ago. Engineers of the time devised a method where closely packed timber poles, often made from durable alder, larch, or oak, were driven by hand or simple machinery into the substrate. The oxygen-poor water prevented the wood from rotting. On top, thick layers of stone were laid horizontally, distributing the building weight evenly across the bundles of wood beneath, creating a resilient base for brick and marble. St. Mark's Basilica, or San Marco, is a marvel of this approach. Beneath its golden domes and gleaming mosaics lies a forest of ancient trunks. The same principle secured the city's soaring campaniles and elegant bridges, such as the iconic Rialto. But Venice was not alone. Amsterdam's maze of canals and St. Petersburg's Grand Facades both rest on similar pile systems. Yet, in these cities, pile construction developed unique defenses against environmental hazards. Builders used stone capping, spreading heavy stone plates over the tops of wooden piles to prevent settling and to link the piles into a unified, stable grid. Natural defenses also played a role. In Venice, the city's canal system was not just for transport.
It regulated tides and served as a defensive moat, slowing erosion and buffering the effect of floods. Through these innovations combining natural wood, stone engineering, and clever use of water, medieval and early modern engineers created the stable bones of cities that still thrive today. The unsung network of wooden piles beneath our feet remains a testament to the enduring creativity and pragmatism of the builders who shaped the world's great waterfront cities. On the banks of the lagoon, where canals intertwine and small islands are submerged, the birthplace of Venice's naval power in the maritime world lies. From its inception, this bold republic understood that its survival and prosperity depended on controlling the waterways, not on stone walls. It dedicated the skills of its sailors, the genius of its craftsmen, and the imagination of its engineers to making it the greatest naval power in the Mediterranean Sea. Venice distinguished itself from other cities by its immense focus on developing its ships, especially the barges or galleys, which lightly and flexibly integrated speed with combat capability. Venetian galleys were not merely means for trade or troop transport. They were a reflection of the sailors' intelligence and their passion for taming the waves. The expertise of the spearmen and navigators contributed to an unparalleled reputation, as Venetian captains were known for their ability to maneuver even in the harshest conditions. In addition to its commercial character, the need to strengthen the military aspect arose. During the Middle Ages and the early modern era, Venetian galleys were a subject of continuous development in armament, being equipped with the latest cannons and the most efficient sails. In the legendary shipyard, the Arsenal, the first production lines in Europe were established, reaching a peak output of a complete new ship every single day. No other city at the time witnessed anything comparable to the speed, precision, and innovation of this massive complex. The shores of the Mediterranean witnessed wars and alliances that reshaped the naval power map. In the famous Battle of Lepanto in 1571, Venice led the largest Christian allied fleet to confront the Ottoman Empire. The Venetian fleet was the heart of the alliance, not only due to the number of its ships, but also because of its navigation techniques and excellent training. The advanced Venetian galleys contributed to deciding the battle in favor of the European coalition. These battles granted Venice naval influence for centuries, making its name synonymous with sea power. Venice excelled with innovations not seen in rival ports. In addition to the arsenal, it developed a ship registry system to track the history and specifications of every vessel. Venice was the first to use double propulsion galleys where sailors rowed and simultaneously hoisted the sails according to changing winds and tactical situations, which gave it an advantage in rapid movement and surprise during engagement. They did not stop there. They also possess secret techniques for preserving provisions and water on board ships for long distances, enabling them to embark on difficult voyages for months across the Mediterranean. The magic of Venetian maritime arts remained evident in the skill of the captains, the strict discipline of the sailors, and the stunning organization of the fleets. The uniqueness of the place and the imagination placed Venice on the throne of the seas for long centuries, a symbol of human superiority when combining intellect, courage, and the art of navigation on the pages of history. Beneath the glitter of carnival masks and grand palazzi, Venice keeps secrets. They say that if you press your ear against the stones at night, you can hear the ancient city breathing through its hidden veins, the vast network of tunnels and chambers that run below the surface. Long ago, as the world gazed at the city's splendor, a silent war brewed underground. Soldiers, cloaked in shadow, marched through narrow passageways carved just beneath the canals. These tunnels weren't marked on any map. Only select commanders knew their full extent. Silence was mandatory. Secrets, after all, were what allowed Venice to endure. But secrecy in Venice isn't just about military maneuvers. The city itself is a feat of engineering trickery. To the uninformed, the canals appear as waterways left at the mercy of the tides. In reality, below the lapping surface lies a sophisticated mechanism, gates and underground conduits, channels hidden inside the very foundations. They steer the water with mathematical precision. At night, when all is silent, teams emerge: engineers, artisans, laborers, all sworn to secrecy. Their purpose: to repair the city's arteries, direct rainwater, and prevent the ancient stones from drowning. Every so often, a catastrophe: floods, collapse, rot would threaten Venice. To outsiders, it seemed like luck when disaster was narrowly avoided. But the truth was simple: the city's engineers had diverted the floodwater, opening and closing valves deep below, timing the flow so perfectly that the city remained afloat another day. Yet Venice's greatest weapon wasn't just engineering, it was intelligence. The city was a nest of spies long before the word conjured images of gadgets and codes. You see, Venice's commercial rivals Genoa, Pisa, Constantinople were always scheming, so Venice learned to listen. Its rulers built hidden rooms in the Doge's palace, chambers accessible only through secret doors. Here, masked men met at midnight: merchants, informants, and counselors to trade news of the latest rival ship design or foreign alliance. Sometimes, a trusted artisan would vanish, only to reappear in a distant port city, hiring local laborers and snooping on behalf of the Republic. The most prized secrets were commercial: how a rival loaded its galleys, what routes they favored, and where their ships were most vulnerable. Venice's spies worked the docks by day as common workers, eavesdropped in taverns by night, always savoring the city's specialty, turning rumor into profit. Through it all, there was silence. The tunnels braced the city, the chambers echoed with whispers, and the water flowed as if by accident. This was the hidden Venice, where stone, water, and silence forged an empire in plain sight, yet always out of reach. In the shimmering heart of the Adriatic, Venice has stood for centuries as a city almost defying nature itself. It is a marvel made not by abundance, but by invention, a place where resourcefulness shaped destiny. Despite being built on muddy islands and lacking significant natural resources, Venice rose to become one of the world's great powers, and much of its endurance can be traced to ingenious innovation and collective resilience. From its earliest days, Venice was forced by its precarious lagoon setting to confront the ever-present threat of floods. The Venetians learned to work with water rather than against it. Using a complex network of canals and mudflats, they channeled tides and silt to protect the city's fragile foundations. Wooden stakes driven deep into the lagoon's bed allowed stone buildings to rest above the water. These seemingly basic engineering methods created the very possibility of a monumental city here. Yet Venice's survival was continually tested. Storm surges from the Adriatic threatened to submerge it entirely. In the 12th century, city planners designed a vast system of barriers and diversion channels to stabilize water levels, and regular dredging of the canals soon became a matter of survival. By the 16th century, the Venetian Republic monitored every mouth of river and seawall, knowing that a single miscalculation could lead to disaster. One of the most remarkable modern answers to flooding is the MOSA project, a system of mobile barriers at the city's lagoon inlets. When tides rise dangerously high, these enormous gates emerge from the sea, temporarily severing the lagoon from the Adriatic. While the concept is modern, The spirit is unmistakably Venetian, adapting to nature, protecting heritage against odds. But survival in Venice was never about isolation. The city's merchants, engineers, and diplomats forged bonds that carried Venetian innovations far beyond the lagoon. Its shipyards, the famous arsenale, pioneered assembly line techniques centuries before the Industrial Revolution. Venetian glassmakers set artistic and technical standards that dazzled all of Europe, while the city's architects and engineers exported their knowledge from the palaces of St. Mark's Square to the fortresses of the eastern Mediterranean. Venice's influence reached deep into European politics, art, and science, making its unique blend of practicality and beauty a model for cities across the continent. Even when faced with wars, plagues, and economic competition, Venice drew on its tradition of collective action and sophisticated governance. Perhaps more than anything, the entrance of Venice is proof that ingenuity and cooperation can overcome even the harshest environments. Its story is a reminder that a city, given vision and resolve, can transcend the limits of its geography and leave a legacy to inspire the world. Imagine waking up every morning to the gentle lapping of waves beneath your feet, the humid air carrying the scent of salt and moss. This was daily life for the people of ancient Venice, a city born out of necessity and shaped by ingenuity. Fleeing invasions on the mainland, hardy settlers ventured into the murky lagoon, seeking security in what at first seemed like a most unlikely refuge. With the land behind them dangerous and the water before them mysterious, they built platforms atop thousands of wooden piles. Driven deep into the clay below the lagoon, these piles formed the foundation for wooden walkways, houses, and eventually grand palazzos. Every piece of timber had to be brought from miles away, requiring relentless effort and coordination. The result was a city that, even from the beginning, seemed to hover above the water, fragile, defiant, and utterly unique. Life on these platforms was never easy. The sound of water echoed through the narrow channels, and tides could rise unexpectedly, threatening prized possessions and even shelter. Food, fresh water, supplies, everything had to arrive by boat, and on stormy days the entire city felt isolated, at the mercy of the Adriatic Sea. But the Venetians adapted, inventing ingenious engineering solutions and cultivating a spirit of cooperation. Over generations, they developed a rhythm with the tides, learning when to move, when to rest, and how to thrive where others might falter. Yet, it took immense courage to settle here. With no firm ground beneath them, the first Venetians had to trust in their building methods, their neighbors, and a shared dream of safety and freedom. They transformed an impassable wasteland into a jewel of the Mediterranean, the Venice we marvel at today. But before we move to the end of our story, let me ask you, if you were in ancient Venice, would you have dared to live on these wooden platforms in the middle of the sea? Or would you have preferred to stay on the solid land, with its familiar comforts and dangers? Let us know what you think in the comments. Are you drawn to adventure, or does security on the mainland appeal more to you? As Venice grew and prospered, it stood as proof of what humans can achieve when necessity meets determination. The shimmering canals and soaring buildings are more than just beautiful, they reattribute to audacity and adaptation, built on pillars of hope and trust, surrounded on all sides by the timeless embrace of water. What an incredible journey we've just taken! Together, we've explored some of the most fascinating secrets behind humanity's extraordinary architectural feats and the mysterious cities that still captivate our imagination today. From lost civilizations shrouded in legend to intricate engineering masterpieces that defy what we thought possible, it's clear there's still so much the world has yet to reveal. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discovered. We decoded ancient blueprints that connected distant cultures, questioned how our ancestors moved impossible stones, and uncovered hidden chambers in places that have stood untouched for centuries. Each marvel hinted at a story larger than life, a reminder that the line between myth and reality is often thinner than we think. If this exploration left you amazed, intrigued, or maybe with more questions than answers, you're in the right place. There's a whole universe of untold stories out there, waiting to be unraveled. And the best way to join the adventure is by subscribing to the channel and activating the bell icon. That way, you'll be the first to know when the next story drops, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up. Speaking of which, here's a little sneak peek. In our next episode, we'll plunge deep into the heart of another mysterious metropolis, a city swallowed by the jungle, rumored to guard secrets of technology well ahead of its time. Was it a coincidence, or could ancient engineers really have accessed knowledge that even modern science struggles to explain? Or maybe you're curious about the forgotten techniques that enabled people to build soaring temples and intricate tunnels beneath bustling street structures that stand strong to this day, challenging the limits of architecture. If these stories spark your curiosity, prepare to be even more astonished. So, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join this growing community of explorers and storytellers. Every city has its secrets, and every stone has a story to tell. Let's uncover them together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure, where the mysteries only get deeper.